Good morning. It's drive time with Dave. I'm Dave. I'll be your driver today. I'm going to drive you down the long road of success. We're going to go from the road to the highway, to a freeway of life. A lot of good questions. Lots of good questions. Everybody wants me to continue the story about how I got started, and how I got started is no more as interesting as how you're going to get started. An important question that came over this morning, asking for direct advice. Says, the gentleman explains that he has a full-time job, he's a manager. I don't need to know where, because it doesn't matter. He's working 44 hours a week. He makes whatever dollars. And he is a reseller on the side, part-time reseller. And he said that his part-time reselling generates as much money as his full-time job. And he's asking the very obvious question. Do I jump? Dave, you say it takes courage. And it does take courage. It takes courage to buy more and spend more money and hire employees and become something you've never been. What you're asking is a little more complicated. The answer isn't so cut and dry. Because when you stop your full-time job and you're like, I'm taking the plunge, I got some good advice, I'm ready to go, you're trading one income for another, which then is going to limit your ability to purchase. So, now, with that in mind, go back and ask yourself the same question. You said, well, if I doubled the amount of time, I'm spending 15 hours a week reselling and 44 hours a week working my job, and I'm making just as much money in my 15 hours. Okay, so that means the first 15 hours that you work on reselling is going to equal what you've been making. And if you've used any of the additional money for your family on reselling, well, what happens next? That means the next 30 hours you're still going to use for your family. When are you going to have extra money? You said, how do I save money? How do I build up my capital? Well, those are very complicated questions that only you can answer based on the dynamics. You understand your situation and I don't. I'm looking at it from, my point of view, and it sounds dangerous to me. I'm very risk adverse. When I started, I didn't have a family. No family. Nothing. It was me. Living in a rundown, single-wide trailer on a dirt road in a very bad part of town. Very little measures to that today, by today's standard. There was no YouTube. There was nobody to turn to for advice. Nobody knew anything. Reselling then was much different than now. You know what it's going to take, and you see it. You're working at it, and doubling your effort would double the income. But you've already got 60 hours going out. You're going to trade one for the other. It's not about trading one guarantee for another. There's nothing guaranteed, and just because you're getting a paycheck, that doesn't mean anything. You can devote the same amount of time to reselling, sourcing, listing, finding products. You'll probably spend more time. You'll drive yourself mad, just like I do. Looking for more stuff to sell to make more money. And then, when the inevitable happens, oh my goodness, sales slowed down. Everybody on YouTube, oh my God, thousands, countless, tens, hundreds of thousands, millions of people. Everybody, sales were slow this week. There are a few people that, if I could direct you to them, and they'd give you a little insight into their business. As the season changes, or the wind blows. So I use the term seasons change, but I'm not actually talking about the changes of seasons. People, you know, in the size of business and the scope of the business that we're talking about, the seasons changing, yes, is the practical definition is whether it's going to be spring, summer, winter, fall. Right. Yeah, everybody knows that, right? But the reality is when the wind blows. All right. So 4 days ago, we were, you know, it was warm here in Florida. It was, I don't know, it was 90 degrees. And everybody's like, man, I need a bathing suit. So they're online shopping for a bathing suit. One day later, they're online shopping for electric heaters and coats. Now, if you've got all shorts and t-shirts, just like the song says, it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's warm somewhere. But where is it cold? See? So, I say, you have to diversify your inventory. You have to build up your inventory. There's no magic answer. There's no man, I wish there was a magic. I was like, poof, I'd be like, yeah. I'm making fun of, you know, Casey Neistat. That guy makes me laugh. There's no magic answer. There's no fairy dust. There's no, it's not going to happen. Nothing's going to happen overnight. I go back to my question. It concerns me, you know, because I feel for you. I know what it's like. I live it every single day. No matter that I'm driving along here and I'm giving whatever skewed perspective I may have about what it takes and where I come from and how I've got here and the overall structure. The structure is the same between you and I. And I made the video last night showing you guys the house because my wife enjoys it very, 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 very much. I enjoy it. That's how you start, and where I'm at today is the goal. But that's not the goal, because the goal is, how do I get it bigger? Because there's a point where even myself, I had to start living off of the money as everything around me changed. I couldn't stop it. I suppose I could. I suppose I could have. I could have made different choices. I could have said, I'm not going to drive a really expensive car. We're not going to have an RV and a beach house, and we're not going to live in the big house that we do. We've moved 3 times in 5 years. You have a child? You have 2 child? What's that? 2 children. 3 children. I needed more space. I had no space. The kids took over everything. And it was fine. So I just go, I need some more space. So how do I get some more space? So we're gonna move. We moved there. It's ridiculous. And so I make jokes about what it would be like if you didn't do those things. Following the business model, the structure, the policies, the procedures, how we get from point A to point B, it does not change person to person. It does not matter whether I am who I am, or I am Apple, or I'm Microsoft, I'm Google, I'm the biggest in the world, or I'm the absolute smallest. Basic principles apply. It's what you do outside of that that changes everything. How much money do you spend outside of the money you're making? Does that hamper you from investing more to make more? Because that's really what it's about. So when I started, every dime of money, boom, went right back in. See, that's what I did. Every dime of money. That's all I could do, right? Because I didn't have anything else to do. Still today, as much as I can possibly put back in. So the question comes up about how much money do you save? Is your inventory your savings account? Is a question I've been asked. That caused me to scratch a little bit, because that inventory can go from being worth whatever you paid for it to zero. 60 to zero, going the other way. I go from you've got $10,000 in inventory to you got zero value, so it won't sell. So as you make money, whatever inventory is there. So if you've been spending money all along, and every money you make divides that cost down. Average cost. Don't sit around there and stare at that inventory and think, oh my goodness, I could name a guy right now, he'd be so angry with me, that thinks that the inventory has some value, and that inventory will carry him when times get hard. He's delusional. Okay? If it's going to sell, it's going to sell. And if it doesn't sell, it's not going to sell. And you're going to leave it hanging out there. And the little bits of it's going to sell as that one person out there, 1 out of 30 million an hour or a minute or whatever it is, they decide that they want to buy that one item. Don't look at that inventory like it's a nest egg. It's not, right? It's a vehicle to make more money. Now I say, whenever I make a purchase, I know I'm going to make dollar for dollar. But I also back that up by saying, how long will it take? What are we talking about, dollar for dollar? Are we talking about 30 days, 60 days, 90 days? How many days are we talking about? See, that's what we have to think about. How long? So, are we talking 90, 120 days? A year? I mean, there's no rule that says that it's going to take some specific amount of time, that there's no Murphy's Law that says, well, if I invest whatever dollars I'm going to invest, that somehow it's going to come back to me twofold, fivefold, tenfold. No. So, all the way back to the original question. Nothing's guaranteed, and the income from the job isn't guaranteed. But right now, that income is part of what you're doing. Trading one for the other, I'm not sure would be a benefit. When you're reselling, outruns your income from a job. I get all choked up thinking about money. And what happens when the money starts doubling and tripling, and what it's going to do. Hopefully nothing bad to you, right? So when that money doubles and triples, when the money reselling is making double what you were making working. So if you're making $25,000 a year, full-time, part-time, whatever it is that you're doing, and you're making $50,000 a year reselling, you're making $75,000. Is reselling going to do that? Can it do that? Are you going to be self-motivated enough? Are you driven enough to bring that number up so it becomes your entire full-time income? These are the things that we have to explore. And we have to explore them case by case, individual by individual. Are you you're a stay-at-home dad because mom's the one out working and you're doing this part-time or full-time to whatever capacity you have because you're at home taking care of the kids, or roles reversed, the dad's out working and mom's staying at home, she's generating extra income. And at what point does that income become equivalent to full-time income? Does that income get so big because you're so good at buying and selling, and you're devoting every dime that you bring in into building it up until suddenly you've made more money than dad, your husband, whatever, is making? That doesn't mean he can quit his job. That just means you guys have a whole bunch of money coming in between his job and your reselling. Now, once you're doubling what he's doing, all you're doing is trading one for another. So always be ready, because sometimes trading 2 for 1 only works good when you're just trading money 2 for 1. When you're doubling your money, when you're making 3 and 4 times, and your husband can come on board or your wife can come on board and everybody's ready to roll and you're fixing to turn your reselling business, you're going to go outsourcing and he's going to stay at home listing. Maybe he doesn't have that capacity, so he should continue going to work, or vice versa. You should continue going to work while it'd be easier for him to hire somebody for $10 an hour, give somebody some part-time income. These are all the choices and challenges that we're faced with daily. This is the side that nobody wants to talk about. Everybody wants to talk about, look at my haul video. Look how much stuff I bought. Look how much money I'm going to make. None of those people are supporting their families. Do not put your family in danger. Understand the dynamic, what it takes for the money to grow, how to scale your business. That's what I'm here for. I'm just the driver. What do I know? I'm Dave, and I'll be picking you up again later.